All right, we're back. We're back for another video. All right, let me pull out the notes. I think we're ready to go. Action! Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sam Downey here. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at SamDowney44. Also, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right here. So that's youtube.com/SamDowney. You know what I'm saying? Posting videos here about trans stuff, so make sure you subscribe to that. Do it. Okay. All right. Wow, that was stupid. Okay, so today we're gonna be talking about kind of like a touchy subject. A touchy subject in the world. Yeah, like fuck. People get really offended by this subject, and you know, obviously debates happen over this subject. And I honestly think that the main reason why a lot of people try to debate this is because they're just uneducated on what trans women are. I feel like they're just uneducated on what a trans woman is, and also a trans woman that's like medically transitioning, like, you know, what she can do down there. So you probably noticed from the title of this video, this is going to be on my experience 3 years in my transition, or almost 3 years in my transition, using women's bathrooms and like change rooms, basically. And also, I'm probably going to say this as well. I would say there has been a big change as well in using these kind of facilities, and even just getting gendered correctly after I got laser hair on my face. I recently just finished that up, so I did 7 sessions, and then I have like 1 touch up in like 6 months, I guess, too, right? But overall, like, I haven't actually shaved in a couple of weeks, and you know, I might have a couple of hairs, but you can tell like the 5 o'clock shadow isn't really as much anymore, right? Which is honestly awesome. Like, I gotta admit, like, you know, it was expensive, but 100% worth it for sure. If you are considering getting laser though, make sure you go to a reputable place. Don't just go on Groupon and get one of those like crazy deals at like a random place. Like, actually go to a place that knows how to do laser on the face, because it's not like doing your legs, you know? Like, this is your face. You don't want scars all over your face from getting a bad laser hair removal job, you know? So yeah, go to a reputable place. But back to the topic of the video. So when it comes to the bathrooms, I will say this first is, you know, I do use the men's bathroom at times. Usually it's when I'm on the go. So like, let's say I'm like getting off the subway or something, and there's a bathroom at the subway, and I'm like carrying a backpack, carrying other stuff, and I really just don't want to sit down, and I'm just wearing those sweatpants and a t-shirt. I'm just gonna go in the men's, because like, I don't really care. Like, I'm just like, you know, I'm just in and out. Like, especially if it's during the day, there's lots of people, like, it doesn't matter, you know? Like, I'll just go in, use the men's washroom. Like, I don't get dysphoric about going in the men's washroom with that. Like, honestly, like, I have no issues with that. Sorry, as I said before, I'm a Canadian, so we say washroom. Sometimes I'm gonna try and use bathroom, because I know like sometimes washroom, people get confused by that. But yeah, when I say washroom, I mean bathroom. I don't just like jump in washing machines, you know? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. That being said though, when using the men's washroom, I would say probably in the last 3 months, I have had four to five instances where, you know, I was in the washroom washing my hands. There was a couple of times where it was like maybe like a janitor or something that would come up to me. And, you know, let's be real, they haven't heard me speak yet. You know, if you hear me speak, it's different, but if you haven't heard me speak, so they would come to me and be like, oh, like, this is the men's washroom. Like, you know, the women's washroom's like across the hall. And I'd be like, oh, sorry, man, because I'd have like my headphones in. And you could tell this guy's face would go totally red. Oh, I thought you were... Oh my God, like, you can just, like, and it's just a funny moment for both of us, like, whatever, like, you know, I would say that's probably happened about 4 to 5 times, because if you don't hear me speak, I've kind of realized that I actually do pass pretty well. Once I start speaking, though, that's when you can kind of tell something's up. You know, like, that's when you can kind of tell something's up. Like, what you got down there? What you got? Obviously, don't ask trans people what's in their pants, but they're thinking, what you got down there? A big thing that I have been starting using that is the women's change room. As you guys know, I have been going to the gym a lot more. I go like 4 to 5 days a week, and you know, I do need to change when I'm there. I use the women's change room. Obviously, I don't take off my underwear. Like, I'm not looking to make anyone feel awkward or feel uncomfortable. I'm just there to change and then get out. But I have started using the women's change room just because I find that I was getting stares from the men's change room if I had titties out. So yeah, we stopped doing that because it was getting a little awkward. And I could even tell it was getting awkward for guys too. So yeah, I do use the women's change room. In that case though, I try to stay silent. I don't really try to talk. For example, my friend who works out at the same gym with me, she was in there. She came in. She was getting ready for her workout. She's like, "Oh my God, hey Sam." And literally I was like, "Hey." I was like, "I'll talk to you when I'm outside." Obviously, no, some people are going to say in the comments like, "Oh, you shouldn't have to do that." But I just like preferably don't like to draw attention to myself. And I know that would draw attention. And, you know, I'm one of those people too, that's like, I don't get offended if, for example, someone from the gym or something, or some place came up to me and was like, "Hey, we have like a gender neutral washroom. Do you mind using that?" Like, I have no problems with that. I'm not one of those people that thinks they're entitled to be in the women's change rooms and women's washrooms. Like, you know, if there is a third option, which I believe there should be, I would 100% use that. Like, I have no issues with that. Like, I don't see that as like, "Oh, I'm like less of a woman." Like, no. Like, out of everyone's comfort, I would honestly, I would prefer to use a gender neutral or like a gender neutral washroom for sure, or change room. But, you know, obviously in most cases that isn't available unless you're like at like a queer space or something like that. So usually I have to go for, you know, the more comfortable pick, which is going to be the women's change room. Now, I know this has been a touchy topic though. I know Planet Fitness recently had an issue with like a trans woman in the women's change room, and I think in Alaska or something, and like then they had to ban the member that like tried to film them. So like, this obviously became a touchy topic, and I think the main reason is a lot of people think that trans women can function sexually or function down there like men, which we honestly can't. Obviously, you know, there are trans women that are not an HRT, that kind of stuff, which is totally valid as well. I do find a lot of people think that, you know, there's this thing that they think that like men are just dressing up as women and going in the women's change room or the women's washroom and stuff like that. And it's just not a valid point because, for example, I don't understand why someone wouldn't just wear a hoodie and walk in. Like, I feel like that would be the easier tactic if you're looking to get in there. Also, you know, someone who is crazy or isn't gonna just stop at the women's bathroom and be like, "Oh, I'll just wait for you outside here." Like that, like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand that point. I really don't understand that argument. And I think the other thing as well is trans women in the women's change rooms, women's washrooms, that kind of stuff, they're not trying to draw attention to themselves. As I said before, I'm never going to be fully nude in the change room because I don't want to draw attention to myself and I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And I think that's the valid point here, is trans women are just using the change room. Like, we're just using it and getting out. Like, we're more scared than anyone in there using it. Like, I still get anxiety after like almost 3 years of transitioning. I still get anxiety about going into a women's change room or a women's washroom because, you know, I don't want someone to clock me or tell me I'm doing something wrong or something like that. Like, you know, it's scary, and I think a lot of people don't take that consideration with a lot of trans women. They think that, like, we just think we're entitled to be in there, which I can tell you for a fact that most trans women, if there was a gender neutral space or like a gender non-conforming space, like, they would use that instead. Like, literally, I feel like they would use that instead. Like, you know, if there was a third option everywhere, I'd be using that every single time. Like, I would have no issue with that. Like, when there's ever like a family washroom or something like that, I'm using that. Like, for example, my mom and I, we were at the mall and, you know, we had to go to the washroom and I didn't want to use the women's washroom, and there was a family washroom or like one of those like big single ones, and I was like, I'm just gonna use this, not busy. So, and my mom used the women's. Like, you know, I prefer using the third option. Now I'm not gonna talk for every trans woman out there, but I would say probably most would still use the third option, especially like almost like gender non-conforming trans women or like trans lesbians or trans bi, like, you know, like queer trans, I don't know, like when you're mega trans, you know, when you're mega trans. That being said though, you know, any trans women that are out there, like, you are allowed to be in the women's change room. Like, you know, that is a safe space for you. Don't worry if anybody tries to give you crap about it. They're just miseducated on how trans women, like, who trans women are really. Like, they're just miseducated, thinking that they're just men trying to get into the women's change room, which I honestly don't get that. Like, dude, just what? Like, Who would do that? Like, who would just want to do that? Like, you know, like, I just don't understand that concept, but that's what people think about when trans women are using the women's washroom. Like, there was a politician in Canada, like, recently that was like, oh yeah, the women's washroom is for women, not biological men. It's like, wow, you had to drop that bomb, bro. Like, fuck, man. But, you know, there's always gonna be people like that. They just don't understand, and they're just miseducated, and they don't want to educate themselves. That's about it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys watching my content. You guys are awesome. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at SamDowney44. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/SamDowney. Catch you guys later. Bye. Peace.
You're like a vampire, sucking all my blood away. Face it in the backyard, walking in circles. I feel so alone now, can't get over these hurdles. Ripping pages from my